Goryeo, 1392–918, also pronounced Koryõ, was a Korean kingdom that was founded in 918 by King Taeyu. Goryõ's era is famous for its achievements and conflicts. Later, this kingdom created the common name, Korea. Goryeo united the three later kingdoms in 936 and ruled most of the Korean peninsula, until its destruction by the founder of the Chosan Dynasty in 1392. Goryeo expanded Korea's borders to present-day Wenzhen in the northeast, 943–936, the Yalu River, 993, and finally almost the entire Korean peninsula, 1374. Two of the most famous productions of this era are Celadon Trikata and Tripitaka Kriana, general laws of Buddhism, carved and stored on more than 80,000 wooden blocks, and kept today in Hanja. Goryeo also invented the first printing machine based on movable metal letters in 1234. The first book printed by movable metal letters is called ɾjʌ, which was printed in 1377, and this happened 78 years before Gutenberg's work. By forming an alliance with the Chinese Tang dynasty in 668, Shilla succeeded in capturing Baekje and Goguryeo, but from the end of the 9th century, the country began to falter. Its sultans became uninitiated and were pressured by the power of powerful courtiers. Many marauders and outlaws were provoked, and in 900 Giant Huan rebelled in the territory of Silla and in the Jola region, and established the new Baekje government. The following year, Goguryõ revolted in the northern regions, and founded the country of Taebong. New Goguryeo, the son of one of the local lords named Wang Gan, also joined Taebong as a general. Taebong fell when Wang Gan rebelled, and killed Goguryõ in 918. Wang Gan ascended the throne in July of the same year as Taeyu of Goryeo. Shilla was under the rule of Goryeo and the new Baekje, and surrendered to Goryeo in 935. The new Baekje surrendered in 936, leaving Goryeo with an uninterrupted dynasty that ruled Korea for 474 years, although the government was controlled by military junta leaders between 1170 and 1270. From the end of the 13th century, after about 30 years of war with the Mongols of the Yuan dynasty, Goryeo lost most of its power, but retained nominal control over the country. Although King Gongmin attempted to liberate his country from Yuan rule in the middle of the 14th century, General Yi Song-ji rebelled, and overthrew King Gonyang in 1392 and called himself Taeyu of Chosan. Gongyang was killed in 1394. The common language in this dynasty is Middle Korean, and according to estimates, its population in 1123 was equal to 2,100,000 people. In 1200, it was equal to 3 million people, and in 1392, it was estimated to be equal to 5 million people. The name Goryeo is derived from Goguryeo, one of the three Korean kingdoms. Goryeo considered himself Goguryõ's heir. Goguryeo changed its name to Goryeo during the reign of King Jangsu in the 5th century AD. The English name Korea is derived from Goryeo, pronounced as Koryõ. Silla, which had united the three kingdoms of Korea in 668, weakened in the late 9th century AD, and lost control over local lords. The country entered a period of civil war and rebellions led by the likes of Gongye, Gihuan, Hangeul, and Jian Huan. Gongye founded the new Goguryeo state, and renamed it Taebong and Majan. Jian Huan founded the new Baekje. These countries, along with the declining Shilla, are known as the new three kingdoms. Wang Gan, son of a famous northern lord, joined Gongye's rebel forces as a general in 896. In 901, Gongye founded the new Goguryeo in the northern regions of the kingdom, and chose Songguk, present-day Song, as the main capital. The northern regions included Wang Gun's hometown of Songguk, the Goguryeo refugee camp. In 918, Wang Gan deposed Gongye, who had become increasingly tyrannical and insane, and established Goryeo as the king of Taeyu. Goryeo considered himself the successor of Goguryeo and claimed Manchuria as his rightful inheritance. Wang Gun, the founder of Goguryeo, was a descendant of Goguryeo refugees, and traced his ancestry to a Goguryeo aristocratic family. During the three new kingdoms, Goryeo had friendly relations with the allied Silla and hostile confrontations with the new Baekje, but in 927, Goryeo was defeated by the new Baekje in present-day Daegu, and King Taejo lost most of his able supporters on the battlefield. For the next 3 years, the new Baekje dominated the three new kingdoms, but after a defeat at Andong in 930, it lost power. When Goryeo captured Silla in 935 and defeated the new Baekje in 936, the three new kingdoms came to an end. King Taeyu moved the capital to his hometown in Ksang and ruled as the first king of Goryeo. Taeyu married a daughter of the Shilla royal family, and allowed many of their nobles to keep their lands. Although he ruled a united nation for only 7 years before his son succeeded him on his death, the succession was not unchallenged. After the destruction of Bala by the Khitans, the last crown prince of Bala and many of its ruling class sought refuge in Goryeo. They were warmly welcomed in Goryeo and were considered among the ruling family by Wang Gan. It was in this way that the two successors of Goguryeo were united with each other. Taeyu felt a strong ethnic kinship with Bale and called it relative country and contiguous country, and protected Bale's refugees, most of whom had roots from Goguryeo. This behavior was in contrast with the performance of Shalith Amid, who had hostile relations with Bala. Taeyu showed great hostility to the Khitans who had destroyed Balaha. The Liao dynasty sent 30 ambassadors along with 50 camels as a gift in 942. But Taeyu, in order to punish the destruction of Bale, exiled the ambassadors and starved the camels under a bridge. This happened despite a major diplomatic backlash. According to Zizi Tongjian, Tejo asked King Gaozu, king of the new Jin, to attack the Khitans to avenge the destruction of Bale. In his 10 commandments to his descendants, Tu did not make any difference between Khitans and animals and noted that one should be careful when confronting them. The vocabulary used in the Goryeo court was specific to an empire and not to a kingdom. The capital, ɾjʌ, was called Huangdu, imperial capital, and the palace was also called imperial palace. The country also benefits from a system of multiple capitals, Gaejeong as the main capital and Seojeong, present-day Pyongyang, Namjeong, present-day Seoul, and Dongyeong, present-day Gyeongju, as secondary capitals. The sheer use of this system as well as the naming or use of the word indicates that Goryeo functioned internally as an empire. Imperial titles such as Emperor and Emperor of the East Sea were used for Goryeo sultans. Goryeo kings were not enshrined as emperor after death, but were given the title of Great King, a practice inherited from Goguryeo and used until the end of the Joseon dynasty. Temple names such as Tejo were used in Goryeo. These types of names were not used by kingdoms. Other titles such as His Highness, Shabanu, Hamini Crown Prince, Queen Dowager, and Imperial Order show that Goryeo had adopted the system of titles of an empire. The Chinese Song and Liao dynasties tolerated imperial claims and customs in Goryeo. On the other hand, after the Mongol invasions, all these titles were proclaimed by the Mughal rulers, and the Goryeo sultans were forced to add the word royal to their consecrated names after their death. It is because the kings after Wenyung to King Gongmin carried this word in their posthumous names. As the Mongols declined in power, the rulers no longer used the word, but were still unable to revive the use of the temple name. In order to strengthen the power of the central government, Guangzong, the fourth emperor, created a series of laws, such as the freeing of slaves in 958 and the establishment of an examination for the recruitment of civil officials. To prove his international power, Guangzhong declared Goryeo an empire that was independent from all the countries of those days. The fifth king, Gyeongjong, instituted land ownership reforms called Jun Seogwa, and the sixth king, Songjong, appointed officials in local areas, while local posts were previously held by lords. Goryeo-Khitan War between 993 and 1019 covered the northern borders. From the time of the 11th king, Monjong, the Goryeo central government gained complete authority and power over the local lords. Monjong and later kings emphasized the importance of civilian control over military affairs. Goryeo's system of government was very similar to that of earlier Korean monarchies, in that a centralized government was overseen by the king, who might consult a small council of senior officials. The civil administration was the occupation of a vast but exclusive aristocracy, over a large population of subjects and several skilled artisans, who made industrial products such as ceramics, weapons, and art objects. In between these two levels were local magistrates, often major landowners with their own private armies, whose authority could reach its peak in the districts in the absence of a centralized government. Almost 60% of the districts remained semi-independent. At the bottom of the social ladder were slaves, prisoners of war, debtors and criminals, who worked on the land of the nobles who owned the land, or were employed by the government in building projects such as fortifications. There was very little social mobility between ranks because the criteria, and even the entrance exam for those placed in a particular position due to their birth status were severely restricted. Entry into the country school system was also limited for a certain social class. The central government consisted of two supreme organizations, 3 parliaments and the royal secretariat. These two formed the supreme council of the state. Therefore, Goryõ's policies were concentrated in an aristocratic council. Officials above the 5th rank were given land with permanent ownership. Even the lands that were supposed to be returned were in fact passed from hand to hand for generations because the sons of the applicants actually took over the official positions. Land was the main source of wealth, and nobles developed their ownership of land through land reclamation, purchase or usurpation. The nobility accepted Buddhism as a religion for spiritual development and personal happiness, and Confucianism for its political rules and moral principles. The same was true for the government, which established large Buddhist monasteries such as Derived in order to hold religious ceremonies and pray for the welfare of the country, and also established a national academy called ko.ɾjʌ to inculcate Confucianism. In Goryeo, female descendants were as important as male descendants, suggesting that Goryeo treated women much more favorably than in contemporary cultures such as China. Sometimes a husband moved into his wife's family home. Women could get divorced and take custody of their children, and they were able to inherit the same share of inheritance as their brothers and sisters. An important change from previous regimes was that Goryeo legalized hereditary slavery with a series of reforms. In 1037, every child inherits the position of its mother. Many owners accepted this issue so that they could increase the scope of the mentioned command and classify any child who has a father from the slave class as a slave. This caused a sharp increase in the number of slaves, until their number increased to about 30% of the total population of Goryeo. The Jurchens were tributaries of Goryeo since the reign of Wang Gan in the Yalu River region. Wang Gan summoned them during the Wars of the New Three Kingdoms, but the Jurchens changed their alliance several times between Goryeo and Liao, taking advantage of the crisis between the two countries, representing a potential threat to the security of Goryeo's borders. The Jurchens offered tribute to the Goryeo court in exchange for lavish gifts. According to Goryeo, in 918, the ancient capital of Pyongyang had been in ruins for a long time, and foreign barbarians were using the surrounding areas as hunting grounds, occasionally raiding Goryeo's borders. Accordingly, Wang Gan ordered his subordinates to repopulate the ancient capital and immediately sent his cousin to defend it. Subsequently, he declared Pyongyang as the capital of the West. The Khitans of the Liao dynasty attacked the northwestern borders of Goryeo in 993 with an army that Commander Liao claimed was 800,000 strong. After a military stalemate, Goryeo diplomat Xiao Hui negotiated with Senior General Liao and reached an agreement. In this agreement, Goryeo pledged to end its alliance with the Chinese Song dynasty, adopt the Liao calendar, and become a Liao tributary state. Through negotiations, Xiao Hui obtained Liao's consent to annex the lands between the border of Liao and Goryeo up to the Yalu River in Goryeo territory. At that time, these areas were occupied by the troublesome Jurchen tribes, and Xiao Hui was able to succeed in diplomatic negotiations by mentioning that these lands belonged to Goguryõ, Goryeo's predecessor, in the past. With this agreement, the Liao forces withdrew from Goryeo, but Goryeo continued to communicate with the Song and strengthened its defenses by building a fortress in the newly acquired northern territories. In 1009, General Gangyu of Goryeo staged a coup against King McKeown, assassinated him and established a military government. Liao attacked Goryeo with 400,000 men under the pretext of avenging the blood of the murdered McKeown in 1010. Jingju repelled Liao's first attack, but was defeated in the second attack and executed. King Hanja of Goryeo was forced to temporarily flee to Nui from the capital, which had been burned and razed by the Khitans. The Khitans, unable to gain a foothold in Goryeo and also fearing a counterattack by restructured Korean military groups, were forced to withdraw. King Goryeo then asked for peace, but Emperor Liao demanded that he come to Liao himself, and also give up key border areas. But the Goryeo court rejected these requests, and the result of this action was a decade of enmity between the two countries. During this period, both sides strengthened their borders in preparation for war. Liao also attacked Goryeo in 1015, 1016 and 1017, but these battles did not result. In 1018, Liao gathered an army of 100,000 soldiers to attack Goryeo. On the other side, General Gang Gumchan ordered a dam to be built on a river east of Hangeul. When the Khitan soldiers were crossing the Yalu River, Gang Gumchan opened the dam and attacked the enemy with 12,000 cavalry. By doing so, he caught the enemy by surprise, inflicted heavy casualties on them, and blocked their line of retreat. The Khitan soldiers fought and advanced towards the capital, but they faced stubborn resistance and intermittent attacks, and were forced to retreat to the north. Ganggum Chan and his troops were waiting in Gyu and surrounded the Khitan and destroyed most of them. After the Battle of Gyu, only a few thousand Khitan soldiers barely survived the massacre. Liao gathered another large army in the spring of the following year, 1019. Both sides were aware of the difficulty of winning a decisive victory. King ɾjʌ sent a tribute-paying envoy to Liao in 1020, and Emperor Xingzong graciously pardoned him. Afterwards, tributary relations between Goryeo and Liao resumed, and Goryeo suspended relations with the Song. Goryeo was no longer in conflict with the Liao government, and he no longer feared Liao. Beginning in the 1030s, Goryeo resumed informal contacts with the Song, receiving hundreds of merchant ships each year. But in the Song court, Goryeo was seen as a scary country. In addition, Goryeo was supposed to be the only country not captured by the Liao, and therefore feared by the Liao. After Goryeo's victories over Liao, the Goryeo kingdom experienced a golden age that lasted for a century. During this period, great progress was made in printing and publishing, and various education and knowledge in the fields of philosophy, literature, religions and sciences were promoted. In 1100 AD, there were 12 universities in the country that trained famous researchers and scientists. The first edition of ko.ɾjʌ was completed in 1087 after years of effort. The Jurchens in the north of Goryeo traditionally paid tribute to the sultans of Goryeo and called Goryeo their source country. But thanks to Liao's defeat in 1018, the Wanyan clan of Hishuimo united the Jurchen clans and seized power. General Yun Guan led a newly formed force of about 17,000 soldiers called Bialmoban and attacked the Jurchens. Although the war lasted for several years, the Jurchens were finally defeated and surrendered to Yun Guan. General Yun built 9 forts in the northeastern borders to show this victory. But in 1108, General Yun received an order from the new king, King ɾjʌ, to withdraw his troops from the region. He was removed from his post due to monopolization and court seditions that were carried out by the opposing parties. The opposition party started a campaign to ensure that the new fortresses were returned to the Jurchens. During the reign of a Jurchen leader, named Wu'ai'isho between the years 1103 and 1113, the border between the two countries was stabilized, and the Korean forces withdrew from their territory by acknowledging the control of the Jurchens over the disputed area. A high wall was built by Goryeo between 1033 and 1030 to defend against Jurchens and Khitans.